I remember when I was 17 years old, I just got out of hospital. I'd been in there for around 8 months. The greatest gift that having an eating disorder taught me was
WBFF world champion, recently UK champion as well, sports model project CEO, and above all, educator. I'm so honoured to be here with Hattie Boydle.
I went from being really naughty at school to wanting to be the best. And my teachers were like, what the hell?
The whole time you were just expressing everything, and I'm sure everyone's feeling this as well. There's like goosebumps, there's vibrations happening in my body.
I'm going to go and get out. I'm going to find out how we can look after ourselves, and I'm going to now teach other women how to do it.
If you were to give your key to the queendom, what advice would that be? Welcome to the queendom. Hello everyone, we are back with Keys to the Queendom. I'm here. I'm so honoured to be here with Hattie Boydle, WBFF world champion, recently UK champion as well, sports model project CEO, and above all, educator. How are you, my beautiful queen?
Tamara, I am so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to be here with you. So thank you for having me.
You know, I've obviously known you for so many years, and to have you, in this episode means the world to me. And the biggest thing that I've been, really feeling from an energetic space is love. And I know love means so much to you because love has brought not only, your drive, your success, your business, but also your relationship, right?
Honestly, if I could have a middle name, it would most certainly be Love. I've got a very good friend of mine, and he calls me the love machine. And I'm just like, yeah, that's so spot on. Like, I love love. I love everything that it represents. And, when we think about love, we think it's really, even as I say it, I'm like, oh, love. But love has some really hard parts to it, right? Sometimes love can be really scary, but love has meaning, and it has commitment, and it has loyalty, and it has purpose and passion. And I think love has forgiveness. And so when I think about love, it's not just this bubbly thing. It's actually feels like, in a way, devotion. And that's why I love love, because it wraps us in things, and it tells us that everything's going to be okay no matter what's going on. So yeah, love is very meaningful to me. I try and live every day in love, with love, experience love, even at really challenging times. So I appreciate that you said that.
I want to dive more into that, but I guess for anyone who, doesn't know your story, I'd love for you to touch more on that, because I know this is definitely going to bring where you are now in the journey of everything you've been able to build in life.
Tamara, I'm actually really grateful that you asked me this, because for everyone that's listening, we just were on the call before, and we're like, we haven't got any questions. We're just going to roll with it. And I'm currently in Sydney right now, and I'm here for an event called Humankind, which is on this Thursday at Luna Park. And I have to speak about my story. And, public speaking is really scary to me, but it's something that I've always wanted to do. And it's funny, we have to do the thing that scares us. And on Thursday, I have to share my story. So this is a really nice introduction. And for those of you who don't know me, and I'm going to take a guess that there's quite a few that you don't know me, I found my purpose in life through probably one of the hardest times in my life. And I can sit here and say I've got an amazing relationship with myself right now, but that certainly wasn't my experience of my whole life. I was really lucky, though, that when I was really young, my parents put me into gymnastics. So from the age of 4 up until the age of 13, I was incredibly disciplined. I was very focused. I was skill and performance driven, all these amazing qualities that I get to use as a human that have helped me, accomplish a lot of things. I did more training, and I've done more training in my life than anything else in my life. Like, I was doing 32 hours a week of training at 12 years old, more training than what I do for a competition prep. And we know that competition prep requires a lot of training. So it took a lot of my life. And it was interesting at that time in my life, when I was accomplishing a lot of things at such an early age, I was also being really badly bullied. And hindsight is a wonderful thing. I can sit back here and go, I can, not that I, if it could have been another way, it would have been nice. but it wasn't. And what that taught me, growing up is, one, I would never bully anyone else. That's the first thing. The second is it also showed me like how resilient I am as a human being from a really young age. But as I came into my adult years, something I recognized that I did is that I adopted becoming my own bully. So I wasn't bullied by other people anymore, but I was my own self-bully. And I developed this really, really tough inner critic, this really tough good enough. And something that Tamara and I touched on just before this call was, Tamara shared something with me that she's like, oh, I have this thing that I'm not smart enough. I have that too, Tamara.
Yeah.
I can apply not good enough to pretty much every area of my life in at times, especially when I got really sick. I suffered from anorexia for a few years in my teens, and you bet I was not good enough at anything. And I remember doing this particular, I had an exam, and I remember studying so hard for it. It's funny. I went from being really naughty at school to wanting to be the best, okay? And my teachers were like, what the hell? Like, I'm sitting at the front of the class, not talking to my friends, because I suddenly decided, you know what? I want to be the best at everything. And I started to try and control everything. And, I did this, I studied really hard for the exam. It was a speech, right? So this is interesting. I named at the beginning of this call, I'm petrified of public speaking. I had to do this speech and I failed at it. And I don't know, as I say this out loud, I'm like, was that the reason I don't like public speaking now? I think public speaking is scary for a lot of people. But I failed that speech, and I remember saying, yeah, see, no matter how hard you try, you're just not good enough. No matter how hard you try, you're just not good. No matter what you do, it's just not good enough. And I remember trying to prove to myself in every single way that I was good enough, but it just wasn't good enough. And I started to control everything. And I wasn't allowed to eat till I'd done my homework. I wasn't allowed to eat till I'd done my exercise. I wasn't allowed to, eating was I was treating myself like a dog, right? You're only allowed to have a treat when you're a good girl. Well, I was never a good girl, so you didn't get a treat. And I can laugh about it now, of course, but at the time it was pretty traumatic. And, like I said, hindsight's a beautiful thing when we can look back and go, holy shit, would I be where I am today without those really hard times? And I don't know if I would be. I don't know if I would have been in the fitness industry. I don't know if I would have been able to squat triple my body weight. I don't know if I would have been able to do these amazing things that I could say, far out, look what I've done. And there were some pivoting moments in my transformation. And the first is when I went to hospital, I realized, holy shit, I'm not the only woman suffering, and there's got to be another way. And I was like, okay, who's going to be the soldier here? I will. I'll be the soldier. I'm going to go and get out, and I'm going to find out how we can look after ourselves, and I'm going to now teach other women how to do it, in short. Easier said than done, but I went and did the thing. And I remember when I was 17 years old, I just got out of hospital. I'd been in there for around 8 months, being an inpatient and then being an outpatient. And I said to my mum and dad, I want to be a personal trainer. I want to teach people how to be healthy. But at the time, I really wasn't healthy. But I wanted to be. I had all the right intentions, and I tried to go and get all the right tools. But I still suffered a lot. But it showed me in many ways, hold on, there's a space for female leadership, and there's something needs to change, right? There are women that had been in that hospital for 7 years. I'd been in there for 6 months. And I was like, absolutely not. No fucking way is this life. I don't like being told what to do unless I ask for help. I can't do this anymore, right? And so it led me to do my personal training course. And 2 days after I turned 18, I started working in a gym. And, the first 5 years maybe that I was working in a gym, I didn't have a niche. I was working with anyone and everything. And it wasn't until I developed the Sports Swatter Project that I started working with women only, because I was like, you know what? I want to create a team of like an army of women who support each other. Right? I wanted to replicate what I had in gymnastics, which was I trained with my best friends, and I competed with and against my best friends. And we knew as individuals, the best we could be as an individual meant that we were going to be the best team, because it was it's the great thing about gymnastics, and I'm pretty sure you did gymnastics as well.
Dancing.
Did you know?
I did dancing.
Dancing. Oh, okay. It's like we have individual sports, but it collectively is a team who's the best team. So it's like it's actually a really beautiful combination of teamwork and individual work. And that's what I wanted to replicate in my business. And I wanted to get girls training together and then competing together. Like, sure, you compete against each other, but that doesn't take away from you as an individual and what you can do collectively as a team. And what we see so beautifully these days in competing, in particular fitness modeling, bodybuilding, is some really nice camaraderie. And I didn't have that when I first started competing in 2011. There was no camaraderie, right? There wasn't talking about flexible dieting and teams and all that stuff. It was so different to what it is now. So I'm so grateful in the movement that's happened, and there's so much more sisterhood these days, which is great. But my hardest moments led me to the position I am today. And another pivoting moment, I guess, was when I met Sebastian Oreb, Australian strength coach. Any of you guys know him? He's one of my greatest mentors, best friends and coaches, and he's been coaching me since 2014. And when I met him, it changed the way I looked at training, right? So that beautiful saying, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I started to move away from just being aesthetically driven, like just caring about what I look, to how do I lift this goddamn weight off the ground? How do I put a little bit more weight on my back? And it totally changed everything for me. I became purely performance driven, right? I didn't sit there looking, it's like I was still competing as a fitness model, but I didn't train like a fitness model. I trained like an athlete. Then I started to eat like an athlete. Then I started to rest like an athlete. Then I started to use language of an athlete. How can I be better? How do I outperform myself? And there was this really big transformational or pivoting point that happened to me in my life that really did bridge or separate who I was, transitioning from a girl that was suffering with anorexia, a girl that was, trying to lead, a girl that was still finding her place in the world, a girl that was still finding the people that she wanted to work with, a girl that was still trying to find herself, to I know exactly what my purpose and my passion is. And it is to be the best athlete that I can be and be the greatest coach that I can be, and to lead by example and to serve this world. And, when I think about purpose, we're all trying to make purpose, right? When I think about purpose, it is showing up and doing something with intention and that is meaningful to you in this life. And I found my purpose through my hardest times.
Yeah, wow.
And I wouldn't be doing anything else.
Hattie, I like the whole time you were just expressing everything, and I'm sure everyone's feeling this as well. There's like goosebumps, there's vibrations happening in my body, and the story that you just shared, and I really resonate so much from, the hardships that we, went through as little as we were, and, from bullying, anorexia to where you are now. It really just solidifies the true leader that you are. And I do believe, leaders are the people who embody the work, but are also so willing to embrace hardships and look at it in a way that it's like, no, why is this happening to me? More as like, what is this teaching me? So, my question to you right now is, what do you feel like the biggest lesson you learned from everything that you traversed to where you are now?
The greatest gift that having an eating disorder taught me was how powerful our mindset is, how important choice is. And it's not what we do once, it's what we do over and over and over again. And how important the relationship with self is. I wasn't there by chance. I was there by choice. Because I chose to do certain actions and behaviors and use language and stories over and over and over again. So it wasn't a coincidence. I realized I put myself there. And if I put myself there, I'm getting myself out of there. And it was, okay, is this the way I want to live? No, this is certainly not how I want to live. Am I happy? Absolutely not. I'm miserable. Okay, cool. So how are we going to change that? I always ask, what do I have to do? What do I need to do? What am I willing to do? Right? Because what can I do and what am I willing to do? They're two different things. Not everyone's willing to do what they can do. Right? If we look at people, like another thing, I'm going off on a mini tangent here, but let's look at people that we compare ourselves to. Are you willing to do what they are? Maybe for 1 or 2 days you are, but we're talking years, so it's like, can we just look at them and go, far out, they're doing an amazing job and I'm so inspired by that. And if I can do half of that, I'm 50% further than where I am now. Just as a little side note, So the biggest thing was the importance of choice, the relationship with self, how powerful the mind is. And the other one is how powerful you are or I am as a person. And I think when we forget how powerful we are, or we underestimate the impact of our choices, which means we're underestimating our own power, because nothing comes without a cost. Now, some we don't notice the cost, 1 cent over here, 1 cent over there, but something's like $100 something is $1,000, right? And something is money can't buy, which is time. So time is really expensive. And I recognized that I'd been wasting a lot of time and we don't get time back. So I had all these, again, it's like I have to go through immense breakdowns before I create really big breakthroughs. And I've noticed that's a pattern within myself. And most of the time, it's a breakdown in here, I've got to go to hospital breakdown, thank God. But it is like, all right, that's enough. You said everything you want to say. What are you going to do about it? All right. What are you going to... And this is the head nod in my head. What are you going to do about it? That literally is what I say to myself. So I think, those lessons have stayed with me. And whenever I come to a challenging point, they come back. They come back and they come back.
I used to always say to myself, what would Hattie do in these situations when I read? And I don't remember this, babe. This was my last show, 2019. We were in LA. You and I did a session together. And you were like, how are you? And I was gonky, really obviously about to compete. And, I...
Exactly where you should be.
I'm back where you... But in that moment, I remember you were saying, how are you? And because I was so focused on just competing, focused on, building my profile, focused on, marketing myself, I remember I was in this relationship at the time and you had asked me about him. And I'm bringing this up now because there were so many moments in my life where I was really happy in parts of my life with work, business, competing. But when it came to relationships and when it came to myself, I felt like competing for me, I was masking a lot of the things I wasn't truly bringing forward or expressing. And that relationship was one of my hardest relationships I ever was in. And now that person, him and I are best friends. But from that moment after that breakup, I took that choice in working on myself and choosing to love myself. And I truly believe this is why I brought growth in my business, growth with people around me and the conversations I'm having, even just having you here. I just feel so much love for you and also love with my partner. And I know you can relate to this because you've found love.
I love him so much.
When did you, I don't want to say prep yourself to find love, but did you know when you were ready to be in this beautiful relationship? Was it unexpected? Did you put in the work like we do when it comes to competing in business?
It's funny. It took me 3 years to open up to anyone after my previous relationship. I had a really, really tough breakdown of my last relationship, and I lost 2 relationships with that breakdown. And I grieved like these people had died. Like the crying. If you've ever mourned someone close to you for death, and the heaving, that was me. Every time I cried, that was me. And I was like, I am mourning terribly. And I literally cried every day for like 6 months for the first, I was really in a bad place. And then after that, I was just sad. And I just was not ready for anyone I could flirt with someone on social media, but that was good. You were over there. That was good enough. You were not coming anywhere. It was like, I would just do the things that was like, you say over there. And I was like, I wasn't, and even then I was like, I'm not, I used to look at my friends who would go out and I, in a way, I admired them because I thought, like, I don't know how they did it, like going out and just picking someone up at a bar. Like, I've just never done that. And I just was like, the thought of that gave me anxiety. And I was like, I'm just not ready for this. I need to be on my own for a while. In fact, I haven't been on my own for 9 years. I need to be on my own. But there was like a moment, and I laughed with this with Rachel Dillon, because we used to say, are there even any men out there? Like, are there even any good men out there? Sorry if I'm offending anyone, but like, we were both like really worried. And we would cry and laugh and cry and laugh. And just before I met my partner, it was only like 2 months before I met him that I was like, I think I'm ready. It's not to be in a relationship, but I'm ready to, like, if it comes, like, to be open to even going on a date. Like, I'm ready to just be a little bit open. And I remember like 2 months prior to that, I started writing out, what do I want in a relationship and what can I give in a relationship? Because it's not one-sided. And I started to get really clear because I knew what I didn't want. And I, of course, like everything we do, we want it to be a little bit better. And I really reflected on my last relationship, and there was a dynamic that was not eye to eye. And I did that to myself. I'm responsible for everything. The way I showed up in that relationship, the way I didn't, right? The way I lacked communication, the way I didn't voice my needs, the way I didn't have a voice because I was so young and too scared, and I put this person on this pedestal, and all these things that you should not do. No one should be on a pedestal. That's the first thing. A relationship is not you're above me or I'm above you. Like, it is eye to eye. And that was one of the main things that I was like, when I met my partner, I saw him eye to eye. I was not better. He was not better. And from the moment I met him, I laid out what I wanted. So there was no confusion. My partner's 7 years younger than me. And I was like, I said to him, what do you want from this? Like, when we first met. And he's like, oh, I just want to get to know you. And I was like, okay, cool. So just so you know, like, I'm ready for a relationship. And if that's not you, that's also fine. But don't, like, I just want to let you know where I'm at so that there's no confusion around where things are going. And I didn't have an expectation on this person either, right? Which is good. I didn't know this person at all, really. I really had to get to know this person. And we got to know each other pretty quickly. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm still learning about this person. Like, we're still 2 years in, and I'm like the curious, like, I want to know everything, and he's a little slower, but it's fine. Like, I think we teach each other a lot of things, which is really beautiful. But in terms of preparation, for anyone that's listening, the first thing is, and this is just my experience, so I know I'm not a relationship expert, but the first thing I'm going to say is the best thing about being alone is that you're not actually alone, you're just with yourself. And you get to know everything about yourself, and you get to ask yourself, what do I bring to the table and what do I want on the table? If we're looking for love or a relationship because we feel lonely, you're always going to feel lonely. You can be lonely in a relationship. It's like, honestly, those 3 years, I needed them. I loved, in a way, even though I was sad, I could do whatever the hell I wanted. I would go missing for months traveling because I could do whatever I wanted. You know, like be in a relationship. I'm so grateful I was in a relationship with myself. And what's really interesting now, and I go down many rabbit holes, but actually one of my beautiful clients, we had a conversation about this in one of her check-ins. And it's, you know, when we you know, be in a relationship, we can't neglect the relationship with ourselves, because it's easy to come wrapped up in the thing and it's us. But we are still two individuals. So in us is you and I. And I think, you know, what I'm really exploring the last couple of months is, well, how do I honor my relationship with myself and you and us, right? And having this beautiful balance, because if it's only us, we start to lose our own identity. And I never want to lose my own identity, and I don't want him to either. You know, so in preparation, like, be really solid with yourself first, because no one can heal you. It's not someone else's job to fix you. You don't need to be fixed. You just need to do work. And we all need to do work at every stage, because what separates people in relationship is when only one person does the work, or when no one does the work. Right? And so it's this beautiful thing. The relationship that you have with yourself, it's not going anywhere. And if you get to know yourself, it gets even better. And then you choose your friends and they get better and everything gets better, right? But if you don't know about yourself, you just, you know, ping-ponging off everything. And this is why you'd be like, I don't know if I belong. You don't know where you belong because you don't know yourself enough, right? And then we choose relationships that most of the time aren't really healthy. And I had really strong attached parts, and I was like, holy shit. Something I asked myself before I, you know, met my partner was, is this an attachment, or do I really like this person? Do I love this person? Is it love, or is it attachment? And I had to, you know, really do some inner work with that, because I didn't want to have an attachment. And if it was attachment, I was going to have to say, well, I'm going to have to let this go. But what I learned by talking and communicating with my partner is like, no, I love this person. And we're not perfect, and we don't have a perfect relationship, and it certainly didn't start from a perfect place. I can promise you all that now. But holy shit, did we learn about each other. And holy shit, did we have to talk to each other. And holy shit, did we have to learn, you know, to build, you know, repairing systems and bonds. And it's okay. We're doing it together. We're in this together. And now we have like a very, very strong relationship. So it's funny. You either go through this Disneyland romantic thing in the beginning, or you go through like some really challenging times and you both look at each other and we're like, we're doing this together. And I'm grateful that we said we're doing this together. So
I'm laughing because we're in our like focused mode in our relationship right now in our businesses, but we love each other so much. And you know, the minute you said, you know, fuck, we're in it, we're in this, we're committed, we're all in. Currently, right? I say this with love. When Jordan and I began, like it happened so quickly, and I've probably done like the most amount of, like I've done healing on my own, very similar to you, where I was alone during COVID with my 2 cats in my studio apartment, single, and that was very, let me tell you, very.
I'm a cat lady.
Well, yeah. But when I met Jordan, more healing came forward because there were parts of me that I couldn't hide from when there was another person involved. And the things that have come up a lot and what we've been working through, and I'm going to bring this forward more just for you to obviously know my shit. I struggled with distorted masculinity.
I'm holding it. I've got it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's so much to say.
Okay, can you tell me what is distorted masculinity?
So
what is that?
What I believe what a masculine man is, was I basically basically what I saw my dad like. And I don't have a relationship with my dad at all, but distorted for me in masculine energy was, you know, he was unemotionally available. He was, you know, driven with work. He was narcissistic. He was the provider. And, you know, that was how I saw what I wanted in a man for a really long time. So when Jordan and I began, when, you know, the parts of us started to show, Jordan really is a really vulnerable, feminine type of man. And I started to think, maybe I don't want this, because I was so used to what I thought was healthy in a relationship with a male dynamic. But really, that was just my own wounds, or what I saw from when I was a little girl being brought forward. And I had to let go a lot of that and work through that with Jordan. And now we're just like this balance, as you said so nicely, which as so perfectly, you know, there is always work to be done. It's constant, just like, you know, our comp side and our business. But if you were to remember now, the thing you had to let go of when you started dating Coben, what do you feel like that was?
Hey guys, real quick. Have you ever been stressed out or stuck on a problem you just can't seem to figure out, and then a friend or a mentor comes along with like a fresh perspective and shows you a solution that completely changes the game for you? I'm smiling right now as I say this, because I know I've had a ton of these moments while building my businesses and remembering back to all the people I have been helped by, which gets me so excited. So I want to pass on the information here and give you guys a favor to build this Queendom community. You know, whatever platform you are listening on, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and tune in every Wednesday, because you just never know when you'll hear that special something that completely changes the game for you. And when it happens, make sure you leave behind 5 stars so we know our efforts are making an impact. I love you guys. Let's get back into it.
I guess to let go of, the one thing I always remind myself is that we're all human. We're all human. And good people can make mistakes. And I think that, you know, like I feel like I've got a lot more compassion for other people, knowing that everyone's doing their best, even when their best is not that good, right? Or we do things, we respond to our environment, right? And that could be, we could be influenced by people, the wrong people, right? We might need validation because we're hurt. I know I wanted validation when I was hurt. And I remind myself that, okay, we're all doing our best. And I feel like I just didn't have an expectation of what I thought this person would be. I just wanted to get to know them. And from getting to know them, I could create my own picture around this person, rather than having an expectation of what I think my relationship should be. I know I had an idea, like there were some boundaries and there were some things that I named really clearly from the beginning. But I also didn't know this person, and again, to put a relationship on a pedestal is really damaging, because what if it doesn't meet that expectation? Is it now not good enough? Is it now tarnished? Right? Does that I think just letting go of an expectation, and just remind myself that everyone is human. And for me, a relationship is communication and understanding, and to try and practice no judgment or little judgment. And for me, like I said, I don't have to agree with my partner, but I sure as hell want to understand you. I want to understand your actions. I want to understand your thoughts. And I would hope that you would try and understand me at times of challenge, right? When we don't align, right? When I say something that was hurtful that I didn't see in the perspective, or vice versa, as an example. I think that just like the relationship with ourselves, like all relationships take work. And I don't mean it's like, oh, it's this hard thing, but it is. updating each other. It is talking to each other. It's communicating. It's sometimes just listening and just having a space to share. And I wanted to teach Coben that this thing we have here, whatever is going on for you, this is safe enough to share. And I said, like I told him from the beginning, I'm not here to judge you, but I sure as hell want to understand you. And I think, like when I first, my idea of relationship when I was young was very different to what it is now, because I learned a lot of things. My 9-year relationship taught me a lot of things and a lot of things about myself. And I think with that, I was like, I know what I don't want it to be. And I also know how I don't want to show up and how I do want to show up. And I'm not a perfect human. I'm so far from perfect. But I always try and be a little bit better, whether it's learning from my mistakes or asking for help, saying, hey, can you help me? Can I have some effort? Like, I've noticed, love languages. I think about love languages all the time. And I say to my partner, I love you in every love language every day, except for maybe gifts. I don't buy him a gift every day. But I love him in all the other love languages. And what I recognize is that's exactly how I want to be loved. That's what I've come to learn. The way I love my partner is the way I want to be loved, with affirmations, with, acts of service, with like all of those things. I realize I need that. And it doesn't have to be these grand things, but it's the little things, and when we look at intimacy, and everyone just thinks it's sex, but it's more than that. Like, it's hearing someone. It's knowing when something is up for someone. When it's, your partner gives you a look and you go, baby, are you okay? You don't seem like yourself. Is there anything that would you like someone to listen? Holding their hand. If you know that they love touch, just giving them tickles or like kissing them. Like, it's not always a big thing, but it's little things that you can show that person that you love that. And I honestly, I love loving someone. I do. I really love loving someone. But what I've come to learn is that I would rather not be in a relationship than love someone or pretend to love someone or think I love someone when I don't. That makes sense.
Is that like,
thank God I love this person.
But what you, like, not settling for anything, you really are true to what you truly want.
Yeah. It reminds me of a saying I say to my girls when they're in comp prep. All the time you focus on someone else, you lose time focusing on yourself, right? Every time you enter into a relationship because you're lonely or you feel unworthy or you're panicking, you miss out on the opportunity to either spend a little bit more time on yourself, which we all need to do, whether in a relationship or not, and then you lose the ability to give someone who you really truly would love and is, in need of your love or deserves your love or you want to love because you've settled for something less. Good enough in love for me is not good enough. I don't do good enough for love. I do fucking get in that deep ocean of like deep love that is sometimes at times turbulent and other times calm. And, it's like, it's not this, it's not just like this. It's like, it's like that. So I think, yeah.
That's great.
I feel like I've learned a lot, like in relationship. I've learned a lot and it's been really hard. Really hard.
I feel like every time Jordan and I, like, we've gotten through this, it almost like the universe goes, all right, you're ready to work through this thing that you didn't know you had. And it's like, oh, hello, it's together. But the thing that you said so beautifully was the expectation piece, because I don't know if it's because I have strong expectations within myself in business, in relationships, with everything that I do, that for a while there I did the same with Jordan. And the minute I pulled that away and did the work on that, like, the dynamic in our relationship became so much more I want to say peaceful, but like safe, because you said that before. There's safety. You see the other person, you hold them, you love them. And it just made me realize so much where this was starting to sort of, because I look at everything in life as a relationship. If there's misalignment in, me and Jordan, it creates misalignment in my business. And so I knew that there was work that I had to obviously also do when it came to expectations in my business. And which brings me to my question with you, babe. Has your dynamic since, being in this beautiful wave of bubble and love, like, has that changed your business and what you do now?
A lot. It has look, I think a lot of dynamics have changed in my life. My current business, I'm in business with my ex-partner. And that changed a lot of things. Like the dynamics of the leadership changed a lot. And that has been something that I've had to work on and through, through the last 4 years. And it's been really tough. And I guess that in a way that impacts my relationship with my partner, because he sees that it's tough for me and he loves me and he doesn't want me to be upset at times. But what is really nice is like this, because business in a way for me is like a safe place. When I went through the breakdown with my partner, my ex-partner, work was there for me. And it was the place where no matter what was going on in my brain, I had to show up for that person in front of me. And I loved that because it was the only time that I was selfless. Because outside of that, I was so selfish in my thoughts and I was so sad. Yeah. And that's okay. I'm not saying that a bad thing, but so business was so anchoring for me. And I guess I think I've done a really good job at being able to stay in business with my ex-partner and still be able to respect him. And that took some time and still be able to create this amazing thing. But I did notice, and I have noticed that it really, it by default in sometimes like has made it a little bit challenging for me. But yeah, I guess my relationship with my partner, I feel like he's so supportive that he encourages me to think outside the box. And I appreciate that because sometimes it's easy to get stuck in comfort. And comfort is a really dangerous place to be in. So I think, I don't know if I answered that question very well, to be honest, but I guess, I don't know if I answered that very well. I think,
it just shows your compassion.
Actually, I think to actually go back to your question, I mean, something that my partner, he's just started not just started, it's been about a year now that he's been doing his online business. And his success, like his growth in his business really inspired me. And like I said, it got me thinking outside the box. And I recognize that I've just been really comfortable. And it's like it's like kind of time to step outside the box and get really uncomfortable again. So I am really, I guess in ways like, yeah, he's really inspired me. And I don't know if I would have had that same inspiration not being with him. I don't know. But I do know that his growth and his discipline and focus and drive was really inspiring to me. And that's honestly, that turns me on so much to have someone, for me, like I love people that are passionate about things. Yeah. I love intelligent men. I love charismatic men. I love men that have a purpose. I love people with purpose, right? Because it makes us show up for things. And, watching him step into his purpose. And he doesn't use purpose like I use that word. He doesn't really use that word. It's just he knows that this is just something that he loves. But watching him like go from like 9 clients online to like over 100 in such a short space of time, I was like, I'm so proud of you. Like that is just leadership right there. And I just when I think about it now, I'm like, that proud moment of this person. You'd be the same. Like you're both working on your business. And there's such a big correlation between working on your business and working on yourself, because you hear your own shit, right? Your business is a reflection of you. All the amazing things about our businesses are a reflection of us. All the breakdowns, right? The objections, right? Also a reflection of us. And how do we get better? Well, we look at our weak links, right? We strengthen what's strong and we work on what's weak. That's what I always say, even with training. Same thing with business. It's the same thing with our relationship with ourselves. Same thing in a relationship.
It sounds like you both are inspiring each other to dive into discomfort and support each other to grow in all parts, which I really love, because I think one of the biggest things that I have loved in this relationship with Jordan is that he wants me to succeed and he wants me to keep going. And it's almost like my driving force to keep going, You said so beautifully before, babe, you're embracing fear and doing an event. What other uncomfortable moments are you going through with life that you want to share so that you can, I don't know, give advice to women listening? Because, I see you every day in your element, and I just think this woman can just do absolutely anything. And you inspire so many women out there, including myself. I actually got into competing because of you. And, to hear you, going through things that scare you just makes me absolutely love you even more.
I pretty much say yes to everything that scares me, because it shows me that this is something that I want to do. And, I'm not going to be a fitness model forever. And so, and I love educating. I love motivating. So for me, like public speaking is something I want to do. So I've got the event this Thursday. I said I'm speaking at the Clean Health Seminar. I do my seminars with Sebastian Oreb, which no matter how many years I've done them, still scares the shit out of me. I could do public speaking every single week, and every single week I'll still be just as scared as I was the week before. It is something in me that is just like, oh my God. And it's like, well, you got to do the practice. And something that always gets me going is, there's a couple of questions, is what's the cost of saying no? Right? Versus, well, what is the cost of saying yes? Okay, cool. I'm going to be really fucking nervous. Okay, I could stuff up. I could walk off and be like, fuck, I didn't do a great job. But if that's the worst thing that's going to happen, it's still better than saying no and just sitting and then essentially saying, sitting in my own disbelief and going and saying no and just piling up more negative self-talk. It's like the things that we want to get good at, we have to practice. And when you go into practice, if you do martial arts, if you do UFC, if you do anything, right? Practice is fucking hard. Like preseason rugby, you bet it's not easy. It's awful. It tests the hell out of you, and you wonder if you love that sport or not. Like that's just an idea. Like everything, training. If you really know how to train, you fucking bet it sucks sometimes. It hurts. Like you got to go there with yourself. Same public speaking. If I want to be better at public speaking, I have to go and do the thing. That is like, so most of the things that are scaring me at this point in time in my life are going and speaking events. And I think one thing is like being amongst other educators who, in my eyes, I'm like, oh, they are X, Y, and Z. I can give a meaning to them. They're better than me at, or they're more educated, or they are more. That's cool. But where does that serve me in my own process? And I know all this. Like I can hear all the things I say to myself, but then I'll also go, okay, what are you going to do about it? So coming back to, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? And again, another one that hits me is like, okay, if you're not willing to do it, someone else is. And I would hate to see someone live the life that I want to live, like live my dream. If I want to be the number one fitness model in the world, if I want to be the best, the number one female educator, I'm just throwing random things out here. These are goals of mine. You bet I want to be the best in the world at fucking everything. I've had that thing since I was young. I want to be the best at. When sat at the front of my bloody class and stopped telling my friends because I want to be the best at that class. I've had that thing in myself for a long time. And it shows up again as an adult. But then it means I have to go and do the really scary thing. And it's not smooth sailing. I ask myself, when is this going to get easier? Well, probably not. I do have to improve my process. I know that. And that's something I need to learn. And I need to improve my language and stop, again, like, because I have a breakdown before I have a breakthrough, right? So I go through all the negative self-talk and then I have a breakdown. I'm like, okay, you done yet? What are we going to do about it? And then we climb that mountain. And then, of course, there are some things that I can't share too much of right now in this present time. But starting over can be really scary. And I noticed, like I said, I've been really comfortable for a long time. And comfort can do bad things. Comfort can be scary where we lose the art of certain skills. We lose practice, right? So we only get good at things we practice. So I can't share too much right now, but I can certainly share with you. There's some very turbulent times in my life at the moment. Not turbulent, but there's so many moving parts. And I ask myself, what am I going to learn from this? How am I going to grow from this? I know it's going to be tricky, but fuck, at the end of this year, I'm going to look back and go, whoa. And is it the right decision? I'm never going to know till I go do the thing. And what's right? Depends how you look at it. So that's all I can share for you right now.
Can I share something truthfully?
Of course.
Language that I used to have, and you've just solidified how much more I feel so called to do more of this. But I used to always say I was never the best. And that came into my life all the time, which became almost like a program that, well, because I thought that I'm never going to be the best. And you've just given me so much support and belief and permission that I feel it's so fucking amazing to hear people say they want to be the best at something, because I am working through that myself right now. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Beautiful. Really. Yeah.
Tamara, the thing is I'm going to say is like there's so many people that can be the best.
Yeah.
Like it's actually never one person. Like, and that's what I always got to remember. It's like, if you don't reach to try and be the best, then you're going to reach for average. Fucking just reach for the best. Like, at least it's going to pull more from you than settling for average. And I've never settled for average. Not in my lifetime, not in training, not in anything. And Tamara, like, this is a really awful thing, but I've reflected on this and I've had a really great, meaningful life. And I think to myself, if I died tomorrow, like, of course I don't want that to happen, but fuck, I've had a great life. I've served, I've learnt, I've loved, I've been loved, I've traveled, I've adventures, I've accomplished, like, and that is because I never settled for average. Ever. And I've fucking failed and fallen many times, but I still never settled for average. And I would hate to live a life of mediocrity. Like, absolutely not. So, unfortunately, that means there's a standard. And sometimes that standard's fucking gnaws at you. But wouldn't you prefer that?
Yeah.
Like, than just living life? Like, cool. but also cool. Like, that's your choice. Own it. Don't complain that you don't have what someone else has. I have to work at everything. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm a slow learner, which means I really have to work at learning, right? And I have to practice. It's like, this body, if I don't do the work on it, it sure as hell ain't looking like this. I wasn't blessed with these amazing genetics and this in the right place. It was like, no, I just worked at it from a really young age. And I also just wanted to be the best, right? So again, it's like, goes back to choices. Goes back to how important and powerful you are. Because where you choose to spend your time, what choices you make over and over and over again, brings a value or a cost, right? And we can settle, or we can say, hold on, what if? Or what am I going to do about it? Or what can I do? And what am I willing to do? And then when we remind ourselves of how powerful we are, we start to tune in where our choices go. And you can make that decision at any age. It's not a young person thing. You bet I wasn't thinking like this when I was 20. The most beautiful thing about getting a little bit older is we spend a little bit more time on ourselves. And if you are that kind of person like you and I, where we want to know everything about ourselves all the time, then we're pretty updated with our software. And we start to be really conscious of our choices. And that doesn't mean our choices are perfect, like at all, right? I always love I've got to learn the hard way, and you bet I learned the hard way. And that's with shitty choices, right? Or a choice that I'm like, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have done that. And we don't learn till after, right?
Yeah.
But the standard of greatness, or the standard of being more than what you are, means that you're not average.
So we're near at the end of the episode. I know I don't want it to end either. And I love you guys so much for tuning in every week and coming to this journey with me. But the good news is it doesn't have to end here. If you've gotten value from today, I have something really special I want to share with you. Now, most people are very dedicated to learning from podcasts or books, but when it comes to taking the action required to make these ambitions come true, they retreat back to their comfort zone and listen to another podcast. But I know that there is a small group of queens listening right now that are hungry for more. You want complete freedom over how you spend your time and money, and you want to be able to do it from anywhere in the world. I understand you. I was you. And now I have complete freedom over my time, location, and money. And I did it all with my social media blueprint. And if you are part of the group that takes action towards your dream life, I have included an exclusive link for you to jump on board below at 50% off. I appreciate you queens all so much. Now let's finish this one with a bang.
Traversing right now through business for myself, and I'm owning that shit right now, babe. I'm saying it here. I'm going to be the best business there is. So I really fucking appreciate you letting me get permission for that, because that's been the biggest fucking scariest shit in my life, going from fitness to being a business coach. Yeah.
Can I ask you something before you move on?
Yes.
How does it feel to say that out loud, just here?
Powerful. But it also feels certain, you know, like there's no like, I'm the best business coach with like uncertainty. It's like everything I've done from the moment I've been a little girl, dancing, acting, singing, public speaking. I'm the one that loves public speaking, by the way. I feel like I've had to go through everything to be where I am now. And now I know exactly what I'm on this earth to do. So it fucking feels powerful. Yeah.
I love that.
My darling, before I say goodbye, I always finish off with this one question. And that is, if you were to give your key to the queendom, or to whoever's listening, that one key where it's like, this is the answer that you need right now, what advice would that be?
Slower is faster. Slow down. Get clear on everything. Where you are now, where you want to go, what your resources are now, what your resources might need to be. Like, get clarity, slow it down, brainstorm it, put it all on a big piece of paper, right? And take one step at a time. If you can do one thing a day, one thing a day that aligns with where you want to go, whether it's a personal thing, whether it's an external goal, you are doing the right thing. It's when we don't do anything at all that is the problem. And when we think we have to do everything at once, we don't do anything at all because it's overwhelming. The fastest way to get to where you want to be is by going slow. So slower is faster.
My love, thank you so much for fucking being here. I want this, like, cuddle yourself so much, and I hope to see you actually in person. I know you are in Sydney too, and you know, if you could share more where people can find you or where they can follow you and what you've got coming up. I know that event has been plugged in a few times, so how can people get tickets? Let them all know.
So I'm speaking this Thursday at the Humankind event. It's actually going to be a phenomenal 3-day event. They've got like Wim Hof and Jim Jeffries and DJs, and it's it's like stimulation and learning. So that's at Luna Park. I'll send you through some links if you want for the ticket events. I don't know when this is coming out, so that might be missed. Otherwise, social media, guys, like I am the only one on my social media, Hattie Boydle. I respond to every message I can get. I try to anyway. Sometimes they get missed, but I do my best. I'm not a robot. It's not a robot. It's actually me. So if you do want to reach out for coaching or even just help, like just ask me a question, you're more than welcome to. And they're probably my two best. Well, my Instagram is definitely the best way to reach me for sure.
Thank you so much, my sexy woman. And this is Keys to the Queendom. See you beautiful queens and kings later.
Bye.